Hi, this review is for Naked in Death by J.D. Robb. I'm going to tell you why I got this book, and if you follow me, you'll kind of know that I've really been wanting to read this. There's a couple things I'll say about it quickly. One is, a couple of months ago, I found 2 hardcovers at a library sale, and I grabbed those because I've had this book, Naked in Death, in my Audible account for 8 years. I've had it forever and a day. I just never got to reading it. And then when I showed that library haul, I got a message from a friend of mine. Her name is Ann, and I've already mentioned her in more than one of my reviews, and she loves this series and started rereading it, and actually has read 10 of these so far, just since she saw my video. So somebody's watching me, and I'm kind of glad about that. Now, this book was originally released in 1995 and re-released in 2004. I gave it 5 stars. And here's the description. Here is the novel that started it all. The first book in J.D. Robb's #1 New York Times best-selling in-depth series, featuring New York homicide detective Detective Lieutenant Eve Dallas and Robb. It is the year 2058, and technology now completely rules the world. But New York City Lieutenant Eve Dallas knows that irresistible impulses of the human heart are still ruled by just one thing: passion. When a senator's daughter is killed, the secret life of prostitution she'd been leading is revealed. The high-profile case takes Lieutenant Eve Dallas into the rarefied circles of Washington politics and society. Further complicating matters is Eve's growing attraction to Robb, who is one of the wealthiest and most influential men on the planet, devilishly handsome, and the leading suspect in the investigation. Now, as mentioned, the book came out, I'm 20 years behind. And with almost 50 books written so far, I have a long way to go, but I'm excited to jump into it. I just read this one. This month I'll be reading Glory in Death, which is the second book, and I have another friend who just downloaded the first 4. So and yet I think another friend has read 9. So yeah, this is going pretty good. Now, I'm glad I got it because I got this one as an audiobook version, but the future books I believe I'll get in Kindle version. In any event, this was narrated by Susan Erickson. I think she did a great job because she had to do the various voices of the characters, so it was pretty good. Now, it's listed as detective fiction, suspense, and so forth, but it's also romance, so you could also classify it as romantic suspense. Now, it's set in 2058, as the description mentioned, so there's definitely a futuristic edge to it. Now, Eve and Robb meet. She's the lieutenant, and he is the chief suspect. They have 2 things between them. First, obviously, is murder, with him being the suspect, but there's also a powerful attraction. Eve can't understand why she's so drawn to him, especially since he could very well be guilty of this murder. Now, he is a millionaire, maybe back 20 years ago, but if we think in the terms of it being 2058, let's just assume that he's a billionaire. So he could have very easily been a part of it. So Eve, her job is to discover whether or not he was. Now, it's good to know, but I don't think this will be a spoiler, but Eve realizes that, Rourke could not be the murderer. I don't think that's a spoiler. But anyway, she continues on in her investigation. There's a nice aspect to this story because I don't read futuristic, paranormal, otherworldly books, but this is futuristic, so there are things that are very different. The lifestyles, weapons, methods of travel, other things, so I like that. The story is written well, though, because these aren't focal points. They're just by the way. And that's really, really good. Now, in this book, we learn about Eve, her tragic past, and what makes her tick. That's pretty good because it sets the foundation for her as a character so that no doubt in future books, and many, many future books, we can relate to her really, really well. And of course, there's Robb. He's the ultra sexy Irishman. Most women, when they read this book, they definitely fall a little bit in love with him. There's a lot of action, intrigue, and romance that will keep you interested in the book. Of course, the mystery is great. I listened to this in just a couple of sessions. I did split it up over several days. I listened to half of the book one day, read a few other books, and then I listened to the other half. It had a lot of twists and turns and a great conclusion. I was really engaged, and I can't wait to pick up the next book, which I already mentioned is Glory and Death, which came out in 1995. When I wrote this review, to tell you how fast this author is producing these books, I wrote the review, I'm going to check my notes. I wrote this review on October 30th. Today's date is the 16th. Well, when I wrote the review, the February book, which is Connections in Death, was already announced. But then when I checked Fantastic Fiction, the May book is announced. So there's a lot of progress with this series. That's it. Look forward to more of these J.D. Robb in-depth reviews because I'll definitely be doing them. It's going to take me a while, so hopefully I'll be here for the long haul and can manage to review each and every title. All right, thank you.